I'm Peter Stone, the Director of Service Partner Programs here at Nutanix, and today we're going to talk about selling services. Before we get into the meat of how to sell services, let's talk a little bit about why. Why is it so important to include services when selling any technology solution? And most importantly, why sell services as part of a Nutanix solution? Typically, customers want a solution to solve for a specific set of problems. For example, databases, Exchange, VDI, even large enterprise applications like SAP. The challenge is that most customers don't have the skills internally already to solve the problem by themselves. I mean, when you think about it, a Nutanix cluster by itself is just a thing. You've got to add something to it to make it truly valuable for the customer. And services essentially are the accelerator, the glue that makes it all come together. Here's some examples of how products plus services equal solution. On the left-hand side, we've got just products and features, but when you add some services with that, what you end up with is defining a use case or solving for a problem in a particular vertical. In addition, chances are the customers you're working with today are budgeting for services. One way or another, if you don't sell them services as part of a total solution, you're exposing yourself to a competitor. Don't leave the door open for someone else to sell services to your client. Services sold at the beginning of a relationship greatly increase the opportunity or the probability that products will work the right way the first time and each time after that. It also means that, more than likely, more of the product features will be used and used appropriately. You also won't have irritated customers, you won't have support escalations, and you won't have customers complaining to you or your management. And probably most importantly, if you sell services right, you're going to have raving customers that keep coming back. And another reason why to sell services is that industry studies show that when deals are sold with services up front, more products are sold over the lifetime of the relationship with that client. In fact, some industry studies have shown that up to 2 to 7 times the initial product sale can be realized over the lifetime relationship with that customer. Think about that for a second. If you sold one $100,000 deal with a customer and you had services in that deal and it goes the right way, over the lifetime of that relationship with that customer, you could get an additional $200,000 to $700,000 of revenue. That's something to think about. So now that we've talked about why sell services, let's talk a little bit about how to sell Nutanix services. Selling Nutanix services is just like selling any service. You just need to ask the right questions. Your customer's trying to do something beyond putting a box with blinky lights in their data center. Whether the customer is adding a branch office or deploying private or hybrid cloud, or wanting to protect their data and plan for disaster recovery, the business challenges, the use cases, and the new opportunities the customer wants to solve with the Nutanix Extreme Computing Platform are your opportunity to ask questions and to find out what else the customer needs help with. What you need to do as a sales professional is find out which of these and other solutions the customer desires. To find out, you just need to ask some questions. And here's some examples. Mr. Customer, how are you planning for your infrastructure team to administer and manage the Nutanix system after we've done the installation? Or, Mr. Customer, what is your plan for scaling out your virtual desktop infrastructure over the next 12 to 24 months? Do you have a plan in place in terms of how you're going to add that capacity when the users start to grow or the user requirements start to grow? And then another example would be, Mr. Customer, how are you planning to implement your private cloud infrastructure? Just questions like these are things that you're going to need to ask. They're simple and straightforward. And depending on the answers you get to the questions, and depending on what the applications and solutions the customer want to deploy, Nutanix has offerings ready today that you can sell to your customers and make margin on. So let's talk a little bit about the services selling motions for Nutanix partners today. As I mentioned at the outset, there are a number of package services that are on the price list that you as a sales professional can put on your orders, and Nutanix Global Services can deliver for you. You make margin on those, and all that information is on the Nutanix price list. And I'll have at the end of the presentation, some information on the URLs and websites for you to look at, and you'll have that information. Another option for partners is that you can also sell your company's services on your own to support a Nutanix implementation by attaching what we call Nutanix Service Assurance. Now, this is a new offering, and there's too much to describe here to go in this session today, but there'll be some information at the end of the deck which you can take advantage of. In addition, I'll give you some information on who to reach out to at Nutanix if you have any additional questions. So what we want to do is really want to sell the total services portfolio. And depending on the answers you get to the questions you ask customers regarding what they want to do on top of the Nutanix Extreme Computing platform and what applications they're going to use, Nutanix has offerings that you can sell to your customers and make margin on. Now, what you're seeing here is a screen capture of the external Nutanix Professional Services website. It's not that critical that you can't read that right now. What is important to note is that the package service offerings that we have today will help solve for customers' needs. And these are things that you as a sales professional can use and sell today. That's what's most important. So now that we're getting close to the end, I want to talk a little bit about some top tips. And probably right off the bat, the biggest thing that I would recommend is bringing services into your customer conversations early. The example that I gave you, the anecdotal story that I gave you, really right at the outset of that conversation, services was brought to the fore. Know who your experts are when you've exhausted all the self-service options. Here's some examples, right? So you can go to the Nutanix price list and look for information there. You can contact the GSO sales consultants as well. You can reach them at gsodealdesk@nutanix.com. And don't be shy. Don't be shy about asking the customer about services. Most customers expect and budget for services, so don't leave money on the table. So lastly, I'd just like to point out that this is a slide regarding resources available to you. Please take advantage of it. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact any of the folks that are available on these email addresses and on these internal websites. That's all I've got for you today. Thanks very much for listening. Good luck and good selling.